Just this week, we looked at how inadequate financing or capital is cited as the primary challenge for SMEs on the continent. The question to follow naturally is, why are banks so hesitant? And bottom line, is the associated risk is simply higher, right?
Absolutely, Alicia. I think the most critical challenge we face as a financial institution is that most SMEs in Africa, excluding South Africa, in that comment, is unable to provide us with accurate financial statements, and they also lack collateral or assets to provide us security. So the major challenge for us as a financial institution is to overcome those two challenges. And I'm glad to say that we're making great strides in overcoming that.
With that being the case, and the growth potential that's out there of successful small businesses, if they do succeed on a macro level, compelling, to what extent do banks simply have to bite the bullet and take on the risk, be willing to take risks and be willing to lose some money?
That's exactly where we're at as an organisation. I think we've realised that the only way we're going to enter this market is if we bite the bullet and set some money aside and really go and learn in the market. So over the last 12 months, we've spent a lot of time learning from SMEs, spending time with SMEs in their businesses, understanding what structures exist in the market that they are in, and what of that can we translate into the banking world instead of forcing them to comply with traditional banking requirements.
Part of that evolution that we're seeing unfold when it comes to financing models has got to do with also something like loan terms, for example. What about exploring the flexibility of loan terms? Is that something that's out on the table? One would assume that there's a lot of debate around that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're bringing it up, because traditionally a lot of what we would do as a financial institution for SMEs would be medium to long-term lending against assets. And certainly our experience in spending time with SMEs across the markets we're in Africa, we've learned that the greatest requirement is actually for short-term working capital facilities, which are completely unsecured. And we've realized that SMEs want us to disperse those in a very short amount of time. So they're expecting less than a week. At 2 days, 3 days is what they're actually looking for. Yeah. So they've really pushed us in terms of relooking our processes and relooking the nature of our facilities to make sure that they are short-term, a month, 3 months, 6 months in tenure, and that we disperse those much quicker.
But aside from just having those financing models in place, actual accessibility in terms of physical representation has also got to be just as crucial, especially when you're dealing with players that are largely in rural communities.
Absolutely. I must admit the SMEs that are situated in rural communities still remain a challenge for us, and especially because those are typically smallholder farmers or related to farming operations. What we are doing very actively is in urban areas extending our footprint, because we have realized that there's a direct link between our footprint as a bank and our ability to reach SMEs.
Just how much muscle are you exerting when it comes to getting governments to actually change or alter their operating environments, you know, to creating more conducive, enabling, business-friendly environments moving forward? Because it's that operating context that does ultimately impact the risk-reward characteristic of small businesses as well.
It was quite interesting this week at the IFC's conference. They released some numbers and shared with us that there are about 40 million SMEs in sub-Saharan Africa, which is a substantial number of SMEs if you think about it. And certainly our own research has also shown that around 30 to 70%, depending on the country, of the working adult population are self-employed, so they are SMEs. And the challenge is too great and greater than us as a single organisation to solve. So certainly in markets where government has shown interest to work with us, we are participating actively, and we realise that this needs to be addressed both from a private sector perspective, from a public sector perspective, and from a government perspective.